Hi, so my name is Sally Horner and I'm a solution-focused clinical hypnotherapist, and I work in Exeter, but I'm also able to work with anyone anywhere because I often work online. So today I thought I would just talk to you a little bit about trance. Trance is one of those things that I'm often asked about. It's one of those worries that people have when they come for therapy. They're not sure what's going to happen, what I'm going to do to them. They often use the word do to as well. And so there are these misconceptions about trance, and in a way it's not really all that surprising. You know, if you watch certain TV shows or you look on social media, you can see hypnotists who work with people and take over their minds, make suggestions, and then you find them squawking like a chicken, or running across the stage in hysteria or something. Why do we see these things? Because it makes good telly. It's really good entertainment, isn't it? It's good viewing. If you really saw what happened in trance, you'd probably be a little bit bored and you'd walk off, and you wouldn't be interested. So, they dramatise these things. But in actual fact, the trance that I'm talking about in hypnotherapy is really nothing like that. So what is it? So trance. Well, we've all been in trance every single day of our lives. We're in and out of trance roughly every 7 minutes or so. You may probably not have even noticed yourself doing it. I don't know about you, but if you drive a car and it's a journey that you often take, you may find yourself reaching your destination and not really having a clue about anything you passed along the way. And that is another time when you were off in a trance state, daydreaming. If you were one of those kids at school like me, spent ages staring out the window, used to get told off quite a lot, well, you're in a trance state there. And the interesting thing is that your brain is a lot more active than when it's not in a trance state. So when your teachers were telling you that you weren't doing anything, you actually were. Wish I'd known that then. Anyway, so the thing is, if you've been in a trance state, which you all have, and you've all experienced that, then you'll know from experience that you don't lose control of your mind. The therapist can't actually make you do anything that you don't want to do. You're still awake, you're still alert, and if you're faced with danger, you can sort it out. If you're faced with a threat, you'll be able to manage it. Going back to my journey up the M5, if I drive up the M5 and say an animal jumps out in front of me, I wouldn't hesitate to slam on my brakes. No matter what daydream I was in, I would still slam on the brakes, and hopefully I would miss the animal. And that's because I have full control of myself, and you do too when you're in a trance state. So when you're in a trance, what happens is you're deeply relaxed, and your attention is focused inwardly. So you're not thinking about external situations or, the cars on the other side of the road or the sky above you or whatever. You've gone somewhere, you've wandered off, your mind has wandered off it on its own way, and you're focusing more on that inward world rather than those external events. And so we turn our attention inwards rather than outwards. And when we're in that nice relaxed state of trance, it can feel quite sort of peaceful, it feels quite calming, it's quite relaxing. And I have to say that when I've had clients that have been on my couch and, had their first experience of trance, most of them really love it and can't wait to sort of get back there again and give it another go. So it really isn't a scary experience at all that most people anticipate that it's going to be. So that's a little bit about what is trance. So the second part of this is just to talk about why we use it. So when people come for therapy, they're often stuck with an issue or something that they've tried to change, that is bothering them or impacting them in some way, and they can't get out of it. So they're a little bit stuck, and they might have tried to change, but it hasn't worked. So normally when we try and change any situation that we don't like, we tend to access the closest information in our pool of knowledge. So we grab what's nearest to us. It's a bit like, you open your toolkit and you grab the nearest spanner or whatever, and you try and wrench whatever it is free. So, but there are other times when our brain is actually a little bit more sophisticated than that, and actually trance states is one of those times. So when we're in a trance state, we're actually really good at problem solving. It's just that we don't know that. We don't know that that's what we're doing. And it's a time when our brain can get really, really creative. Now, the interesting thing is at night time, when we go to sleep, we have cycles of sleep. And cycles are repeated about 4 or 5 times each night. And one of those stages of sleep is rapid eye movement, or REM. And REM is very similar to trance. So what happens when we're in REM sleep is that our mind takes the things that we've been stewing over during the day, and it tries to find answers or solutions to those problems or issues that we've been facing, and it does it through dream. And we play out different scenarios in our mind until we come up with an answer, and then the next day we feel better, like that problem doesn't exist anymore. So the therapist tries to induce a similar state to REM, or rapid eye movement, sleep, through using trance. So in trance, what happens is we produce 2 brainwave patterns. The first one is alpha, and alpha brainwave patterns are when we start to focus more inwardly. So if you close your eyes and you close them long enough, you'll start to create alpha brainwaves. The second brainwave pattern is theta brainwaves, and they are often associated with our minds becoming that bit more creative, and they increase when we're deeply relaxed. So if we induce a client into a nice state of relaxation, then we're also inducing theta brainwaves, and that's good, because what we want to do is to help the client to find a way to become more creative. So the other thing that's associated with theta brainwaves is an increased ability for cognitive control. So going back to that client who was stuck, couldn't get out of that problem, couldn't move forward. So the therapist will talk about the issue, find out what the problem is, try and think about ways to move forward, come up with a goal to move towards, their end desired goal. And then we use trance to consolidate, to consolidate the ideas that we've come up with together. And we use trance for the brain to find ways of being able to solve that problem through being creative. So thinking about being creative, I have to say, when I use the word creative, often my clients have said to me, "Oh, but I'm not creative. I'm not a creative person. I don't do art. I don't, I've never done drama. I'm not creative." But I'm not really talking about that kind of creative. And creative is actually something that we all are. Because what creative really means is taking a concept or an idea that we already know, taking another idea or concept that we already know, and then putting the 2 ideas or concepts together to create something new. So it all comes from something that we already know in the first place. And then in coming up with something different, it's often the answer to a problem or a solution that we might need. So in other words, rather than going to that close information in that readily available pool of knowledge, in trance, our mind goes a bit further. It gets creative. It starts to play. It explores, and it goes further than it would ordinarily to find new and innovative ways to solve problems. And so it's actually the perfect state of mind for creative thinking and problem solving. And not only do we come up with answers to our issues, we come up with new ideas, but then we evaluate those ideas during trance state as well, and we decide whether they're useful. And if they're useful to us, then we use them. We assimilate them into our everyday lives. And so the more a client comes for therapy, the more that we reinforce those new ideas and new ways of thinking until they become strengthened and then integrated very much into our everyday life. So if you think about it, trance is really a bit like sticking your foot on the accelerator for change. So it's actually a really useful and natural state of mind that we can use to really propel ourselves forward in new and much more helpful ways than just sticking with the tried and tested that actually doesn't work. So it might be tried, but it's not actually that successful. So I hope that's given you a little bit of information about trance. If you think it's been useful, please do like the film and please do subscribe to my channel. And as I said, I work online, I work locally in Exeter, so if you fancy a session or two with me, do make contact, and I'll leave details at the end of this film. Anyway, I hope you found that useful, so I'll say goodbye for now, and I'll be posting soon.